It seems I can never catch a break when it comes to encountering scary people. Honestly, I thought that by going on vacation with my best friend Julia in early 2013, we would have had the time of our lives. Though we kind of did. One night in question almost saw Julia and I miss our flight back home. Here's what ended up happening. We ended up vacationing in a popular resort town in Mexico as a way of celebrating our graduation from university. This would put us at both 24 years of age. Julia and I mostly stayed at the hotel, taking advantage of the spas, the swimming pools, the tanning on the beach, and enjoying the drinks that were on tap. Occasionally, we did take a couple of tours during our 2-week stay, but one night in particular saw us going to a very popular bar/restaurant. It was just across the street from our hotel, and was themed around caballeros, cowboys, if you don't speak Spanish. Anyways, Julia and I head over there at around 9 p.m., and we get in line to enter the restaurant, as it was really packed. Finally, 20 or so minutes later, we find a seat at the bar. We both ended up ordering some strawberry margaritas and some chips with guacamole, as we sat there watching people dance and listening to the music. We eventually joined in on the fun, dancing for what seemed like an eternity, while making complete fools of ourselves. I mean, hey, it's vacation, so it is nice to get out of your comfort zone every now and then. During one of the more fast-paced songs, I ended up bumping into someone, causing their drink to spill. Honestly, I expected to be yelled at for my clumsiness, but instead the man, who was dressed sharply in a dark suit, offers his apology, and then he asks me in broken English if I wanted to get a drink with him. Mind you, by this point, Julia was separated from me, due to the large crowd of dancers. I tell him I already had enough drinks, but he kept on insisting, saying it was his treat.
Come on now, don't be so shy. It's a tradition here in Mexico to buy drinks for others. You don't have to worry.
Yes, the man was handsome and he looked nice, but again, I didn't want to trust a stranger. That's why I start to walk away from him, trying to locate Julia. But he ends up walking in front of me and saying something along the lines of,
Look, I apologize if I came off too strong. I'm the owner of this place, and it's sort of my thing to treat people who aren't from around here.
Alarm bells were starting to ring in my head, but I couldn't explain why. After all, he hasn't given me any sort of reason to doubt him. The only sort of concern I have is that I was in a part of the world where I spoke just enough of the language to make out just a few certain phrases and words. Julia was my translator, and without her, I had this pretty bad confidence issue. Well, I decided to trust the man, and I follow him over to the bar. This was where I meet up with Julia, who asked me if I was ready to go back to the hotel. The man interrupts our conversation, and then he says he'd like to buy us both drinks. Julia then catches up on something that I was unaware of. While I was talking to Julia, the man spoke a couple of phrases to some other men who were dressed just as fancy as Mr. Dancer. I'm going to go ahead and call him that, just to make things easier. Anyways, Julia suddenly says with a concerned tone, Okay, girl, I think that's enough for tonight. Let's get going. She grabs a hold of my hand, and we start to briskly make our way out of the restaurant. Slow down, Julia. What's going on? Don't tell me you didn't understand what the man told the others. No? What did he say? At this point, we're just a 30 or so second walk from the traffic light. He told them we were a great catch, and that whatever they did, they weren't allowed to lose sight of us, or they would be in a lot of trouble. Your guess is as good as mine to what that meant, but things weren't over just yet. Out of nowhere, we begin to hear running footsteps approaching us, and we see it's Mr. Dancer and 5 other men.
Hold on. You dropped your wallet, miss.
We almost fell for it, but I remembered the only thing on my person were pesos and my passport. This was obvious, which was why we booked it to the hotel, half expecting them to follow us in there. Instead, we can see them begin to make their way into a van, where we soon lose sight of them. One of the hotel staff notices that we were out of breath, and then he asks us if everything was alright. We give him a rundown of what had occurred, and suddenly he grows cold and calls over a manager. We were pretty confused, until the manager explained this wouldn't be the first time this has happened. Apparently, it's a pretty common theme for people involved with crime to try and lure and trick foreigners into thinking they can be trusted. Usually, this involves hanging out at bars or parties, where they will try and act nice and try to buy you drinks, or try to get you to follow them to an isolated area. That's where they have fellow partners who are waiting to get you. Julia and I were very creeped out, and we couldn't believe things like this actually happened. Needless to say, we never left the hotel until it was time to head back to the airport. We have never traveled abroad since.